Hey guys, in this video I will show you some simple tips and tricks with Cypher right here on Ascent, and we will start when we are defending on A. So with the first trip we will start with the one-way cage, which is very simple. You just want to go in the corner right here so that you get stuck. Then you turn around and place your crosshair on this first line right at the bottom right here. You don't place it way too close to the corner, just a little bit like this. Super easy, you can do it super fast in the game, and then you just simply throw your cage. The cage is gonna land right here on the corner, and it's gonna give you a simple one-way smoke, one-way cage, which will be blocking off anyone in A main. You can combine this cage with these tripwires. There are these two ones which can be super useful for you. Firstly, this one, you just wanna place it in this area, and as you can see, the tripwire would look like this. It would go this long way, and when the enemies would enter, they would not expect this cage to be here and they would get stuck. I mean tripwire. Or you can do this one, just simply like this, so that way it goes around the corner and enemies cannot really break it when they want to go in. If the enemies are going for the doors and you are doing that one-way smoke, you can do this tripwire as well, so that way it would go like this, and anyone who would be crossing to the doors is gonna get stuck here. Or you can just very simply do it all the way from the gen right here on the wall, as you can see. And lastly, if you wanna do a bit more passive, if you wanna play inside with your cages, you can do this tripwire. Just make sure it is close to the corner right here. Then you throw there your tripwire, and it would go all the way here in the back, and anyone who would want to cross to the side is gonna be caught once again. For the camps, you wanna jump on top of the generator right here, just very simple like this. And there are two ways that I like to place the camp. First one is this simple one. You can place it either like this, close to this line, and you would see into the A main very well. Or you can do it a bit more passive. That way you could tag enemies if they would come into the site. Either way, right here you wanna jump and place it, and it would be right here all the way in the back. If there would be someone on top of this, you might even see him, and you can see this whole side and also into the tree. Or the other way, you can do it on the other side. If that camp gets broken, you can just simply place it right here on this wall. It works the same way, however enemies would not usually turn this way, and you will always get at least one tag on the enemies if they enter. And you can just very simply activate the cage with your cam as well. On mid, I would recommend you only this tripwire. Just simply place it like this. It goes all the way here on the other side, and if the enemies would be trying to go in, it would be difficult for them to break this, and they would usually get caught. Now let's move on to B side with this simple one-way cage once again. You wanna look all the way at this building on this island and place your crosshair between the left side of this building, and then you're gonna see this black dot, and you just want to place your crosshair in the middle of it, so that way it is perfectly placed like this. And you simply throw there your cage, and it will always land on the corner right here, so that way it would once again work as a one-way cage. You could be either playing anywhere at this boathouse or all the way on the stairs, and the enemies would not see you. There's plenty of ways how you can do your tripwires. First one, if you know that the enemies are going inside, you can either block them like this, so that way if there is a jet dashing and trying to close these doors, she's gonna get caught. Or you can do it a bit further right here as well. And if you do this one, you can then wallbang anyone who will be caught by this tripwire if the enemies would be trying to push you on stairs. Or you can once again wallbang them through this wall on stairs. And of course you can do simple tripwires like these that can work pretty well to either block off this line, or anyone who'd be in A main just by simply doing tripwires on these walls, as you can see. So it is really up to you how you wanna use your tripwires and get the value out of them. There are 3 cam spots that I like. Firstly, this one, you can just place your cam on top of this. You can see a little bit of in A main, and you can pretty much spot the whole site. Or you can just do it on the side right here. It would be harder for enemies to spot, and you would once again get a lot of info, since enemies would not expect your cam to be this high in this corner. Or lastly, you can do it also on this wall. I like this one the most, since as you can see into the B main here all the way in the back, and enemies would not usually, it would be hard for them to spot your cam there if you are right here. As you can see, and you once again can get free tags on the people. And lastly, for the flanks, you can do either one right here, so that way if you're attacking on A or holding anyone from A to go to your back, you can just place it right here. And once again, it's a bit further, so enemies would not expect it to be here, and you will get the info out of it. And right here on B, one of the tripwires that can be useful, you can place it right here on this wall, and it would go all the way here in the back, since enemies, if they would get the info that there is no tripwire here, they would usually just make their way all the way back, and you will catch them and get the info that they were trying to flank you. They would either retreat, or you would be expecting them on the flank already. Or you can also do a very simple tripwire right here, just like that. And as you can see, this is the most basic one, but this tripwire makes sure that no one will get all the way here and try to kill your teammates if they are on mid. So you should have that in mind. And we'll start with one-way cages when you are defending right here on A side. So for the first one is the simple one on long. You wanna stand next to this box and move a bit to the left until you see this corner. Then you just simply place your cursor right there in that corner and throw there your cage. The cage is gonna end up right here, and when you activate it, you're gonna see that anyone who would be peeking long there's this little gap for them, and you can get a free kill on the guy there, since he would not see you from this spot. Another one-way cage is right here in the window. All you wanna do is just hug this window in the middle, and then place your cursor in the middle of this line. So you should wanna be placing it at this spot. It doesn't have to be very precise, as you can see, and it's pretty easy to land. And you can use this one when the enemies are going inside. You just want to be in heaven, you smoke it off like this, and as you can see far on long, and anyone who'd be on ramp or anyone on site, and it's very difficult to see you there. Another one-way cage is right here in garage, and all you want to do is just pretty much look up. It doesn't really matter where you stand, and simply throw your cage like this, so that way it lands on top of this. It doesn't have to be very precise. You want to be standing anywhere in this area, just simply look up and throw it. And as you can see, it usually lands there. And then when the enemies are going garage, you just want to activate the cage. You can combine it with your cam that might be hidden in the ceiling, and just get kills. Another cage is you can throw right here at the beginning of the round. Simply aim in the middle of this horn and throw it there, and then you activate it. You want to be playing backside, and as you can see pretty far, and if there are enemies, you can get a kill on them super easily. Now let's move on to the tripwires. The best tripwires to use right here are these ones. One of them placed like this, since it's difficult to break on the right side, and usually enemies will always go this way. Or you can do the other one a bit right here in this, pretty much anywhere. It doesn't really matter, since you wanna have the info if there's anyone going from short. So place it anywhere here. But there are plenty of other ways. For example, something like this, or placing one a bit further, as you can see. So that way anyone who will if he wants to go to plant, he's gonna get caught. Or one of my favorite ones to use it with this one, is just simply place your tripwire like this and combine it with the one-way cage. So that way you want to have two one-way cages right here, and when the enemies are coming, if this tripwire goes off, you just activate your cage, go in and try to spam them, and you are waiting. You can be trying to wallbang the guy if they would usually try to go under the heaven, and this tripwire might catch them off guard, and you can get a kill on them by simply wallbanging them through this wall. On B, there's not much you can do. If you can place, of course, one trip right here, but I would not recommend it. You can do a bit more passive ones, for example, on the corner of this box, or you can do one right here as well, as you can see, just like this. And these two will secure both of the sides, and it will be difficult for the enemies to push further to the side, since you can be trying to be playing right here with your trip, having your cage here, and going for the kills if these tripwires go off. With the cage that I showed you, you can combine it with using tripwires, for example, like this. Since from the new update, these tripwires go from side to side, and you can use it either like this or at the beginning of these doors, as you can see. Right here on C, there's also plenty of ways. You usually want to block this off, so doing tripwire like this is gonna work perfectly for you. As you can see, this tripwire is very difficult to break since they would have to angle them and they would never have time for this to do it. So just make sure you place it high enough so they cannot jump over it like I can right now. So the ideal height would be something like this, and it would be impossible for enemies to go through it if they didn't break it. There's also plenty of other ways. As you can see, you can place one right here, which will make sure that if they go for a plant, they will be caught. And once again, if you are playing backside, having one cage right here is gonna work fantastic, and you can get a free wallbang kill on the guy who's going to plant, and they would never expect a second tripwire to be this far and on the side, since usually the duelists would like to push you here, and you can secure this by using this tripwire. And of course, I should mention that tripwires like these work fantastic as well, since enemies usually try to spread up and go to the right to block off this spot and clear the right side. So if you use this tripwire and you can be even hiding in this corner, you can get a free wallbang kill on these people who might be trying to push you. So now let's move on to camps. There's plenty of spots where you can place your camp from the window, for example at the spot right here, since you can see the whole side. And there's plenty of more ones, which I like a bit more. So for example, this camp right here. You want to place it as to the left as you can, just like that. And as you can see, this camp is pretty hidden as well. Enemies would never look this way, and you can ping anyone who'd be going to the side and get free kill on the guy through the wallbang or anything. So this is one of the spots that I really like. Another one which is quite difficult to see would be on this line, for example right here. And as you can see, it once again sees the whole side. It's fairly hidden, and you can gain a lot of info by just simply with this camp, since you can see anyone on long, you can still ping them, and anyone who'd be coming out of sewers as well. And lastly, all you need to do is jump from window on this box right here, and I think this is the best cam right here, since you can place your cam very high up, and you can place it either on this side or this side, depends what you like more. So let's start with this side. If you place it right here, you can see very far, you can see the whole side, sewers, anyone pushing, and this cam never gets broken since enemies would never check for it. And or you can do it once again right here. It gives you a bit more space to see, so that you can see on the long sooner, but it is a bit, it's not that hidden as the previous one on the right. So both of these work fantastic though. If you wanna be playing B, I would not really recommend it, but there are still some camps that might be helpful. For example, some that you would place either on this side or the other one, so as high as you can. Or if you wanna be looking and getting info on mid, you can place it on either side of these walls. For example right there, and as you can see anyone coming in or anyone who's even closer. And if you move it to the left, just like that, once again you can be watching window or these spots. But I would not recommend you to play Cypher right here on B, rather play it on A or C, or even garage. In garage, I would recommend you having this cage right here and have your cam either anywhere on this or on the right side. You don't want to be placing it on the left since it's easier to break, and enemies would have to be more committed if they wanna clear the left side. So if you have your camera right here, you can be watching this spot, and if the enemies are a bit further in garage, you just ping them, activate your cage, and you can go for wall banks or just simply pick this so that way, and you have the info where the enemies are, and it would be, usually would have a free kill on the guy who's pinged or caught in the cage. Lastly, on C, there's plenty of spots where you can place your cam. One of these spots is, for example, right here. And with this cam, you can see all the way here on long or anyone on side, deep garage as well. And you can get a lot of info. It's hard to see and difficult to break for the enemies. Other cam could be right here on this pole, for example, like this. You can see once again a bit of long and anyone coming inside. Or you can do one even further, for example, in these spots. And you can see this whole area on side, anyone coming from long, and you can be playing from backside and getting the info. Or there's also other ways. For example, if you can also place it right here, which is a great spot. The enemies would have to be really committed, and if you spot them, you can activate your cage from the cam and go for the kill on the guy right there. Super easy, gets you the whole site, and there's plenty of ways how to set up your cam right here. When attacking, those are the two most important tripwires to do. One of them very simply right here, so that no one can jump over it or crouch under it. So this one covers you if you are going on C, or anyone who'd be pushing on C. And the other one is just simply blocking off this A side by doing tripwire right here. You might want to do it even closer to the wall so that it is harder to break for the enemies. As you can see, they would have to, usually they would be caught in the wire or have to wallbang it sooner. And you will once again get the info, and no one can go through these two tripwires, which are the best to use, and definitely use them every round if you are playing Cypher on attack. And we'll start with the tripwires right here on A side when you are defending. So first one would be right here. This one would work for anyone who'd be coming into the site, or you can do very simple one just right there. There's also plenty of other ways how you can do your tripwires, for example, just very simple like this. So this way, if the enemies go out of these doors, they will be caught, and you can be, for example, hiding here. You can have even your cage at this spot. You can sneak your way up pretty quickly here, and you can be waiting for enemies to come. You can also have one tripwire right here, so that way you would be holding middle so that the enemies cannot really flank you from here. Also, there's plenty of ways how you can place your tripwires, for example, like this. You might want to place them low so that they are harder to spot. Of course, there are also options like these, so where you can place it right here, so when the enemies decide that they want to go through these doors, they might get caught. Or, for example, one like this, that's gonna work perfectly. As you can see, it goes a long way and it covers a lot of spots, and it will be hard to break. Also, you can do, for example, spots like these, some of the basic ones. Right here on C, there's also, once again, not many options. For tripwires like these can work fantastic and are very easy to throw, so do them just like this. Or at the beginning of the round, you wanna make your way all the way here and place your tripwire just like this. As you can see, this is a very long tripwire and it covers a lot of spots, and usually you would have enough info for you to know that the enemies are committed already if they broke this tripwire right here or at this spot. Now let's move on to camera spots and start with this camera. Very simple one. You just want to place it as far as you can, just like right here. And as you can see, you could see all the way at the tree. You can see a little bit of sight if their enemies are on site. Once again, this cam would be hard to spot. Another one would be right here. Once again, a very safe one. You can just simply place it low. You can also place it a bit higher if you want to, but then it would not have that great vision. But as you can see right now, this one is doing fine, and it is really high, and once again, it would be very difficult to spot it. Lastly, if you are pushed up right here, you can place your cam anywhere high up. So one of the spots would be, for example, right here. That way you'd be watching the doors and getting the info if there's anyone coming. You can also place one at the tree right here, where it would be hidden from one side. Once again, very difficult to spot. Or you can place it pretty much anywhere, also right here, and you can be doing that one with that cage, trying to watch this. You can take someone, then you activate the cage and peek it, so that way you have another advantage. And as you can see, you can place it into these lianas where it would be hard to spot. And of course, you can place your cam even right here, just like this. And as you can see, you can be watching middle as well with it. On B side, there's not many interesting spots where you can place your cam, unless you want to place it right here. Just like this, you can place it anywhere on the edge right there, and you can still get enough info. As you can see, this camera can turn a lot, and it gets you a lot of info on site. So if you keep it there, once again, enemies would not usually expect it to have, so that you have your cam here, very unexpected spot. So maybe if you place it a bit further, for example here, it would be even harder to spot. On C, there's plenty of sneaky spots for your cam. For example, this one, you can place your camera right here, above these doors, and you can be watching this side. Super easy to do. You can be hidden in the back side and get a little info if there's anyone coming. Or you can place your cam pretty much anywhere on the side. For example, right here, anywhere on these ledges. That would work as well. You can also place it right here, just like that, pretty high up. and you can get the info if there's anyone coming. And lastly, I would recommend you, for example, places like these, maybe these corners. Once again, gets you a lot of info, hard to spot, or you can place it in the back, just right here, and then you just simply want to jump up, and as you can see, once again, gets you the whole site. Of course, you can do aggressive camps as well, which I like to do. You can, for example, place one right here behind this box. That way you wouldn't get the info if there's anyone coming. You can be in the camp, and once you have the info if there's anyone, enemies would never really check this corner for the camp, so it's super easy to have it there. Or you can play even more aggressive and place your camp all the way here at the beginning of the round, place it on either side, and then just simply run back, since enemies would have to react very quickly for you to catch you up there. But still, you should be careful with it. However, if you have your cam there, you can gain a lot of info, and you can even listen with the cam, so that way you have the info if there's anyone behind the corner. On C side, you can create this simple one-way cage. So you want to get into the corner right here, and you want to be placing your crosshair right on this spot, on the top of this little pillar right there on the corner of it, and simply throw there your cage, and the cage is gonna land perfectly on the corner right here. So you don't have to have this marshal, I just took it so that you can see it better, and it's gonna land there perfectly. And when the enemies are coming, you just activate the cage and you are watching for enemies to come. You can have your tripwire right here or anywhere else, and you can get a lot of info. You can get some free kills if the enemies decide to push. You can place both of your cages there so that you can delay for a long time. When you are attacking, you can be placing two of your trips, one for each side, just like that, very simply. You don't have to really think about that much. And then if you are going B, you should be careful. You don't want to be placing your trips on these spots or right here. So you just want to make sure you place it in the middle, since if you placed it behind the box, enemies can jump over it. For this one, they cannot. And if you place one right here, the enemies can either crouch under it or very simply jump over it. So there's always a way how they can get behind that one, unless you place it once again even further, for example like this. But either place one like this or one like that, that should work. And of course, when you are attacking, I would recommend you simply just get an info with your Cypher cam, so that way you are active. You should want to be checking these two corners when you are peeking, or you can use it later on, for example like this, to get even more info on site. And you can use this on all sides. For example, right here on B, you can very simply place your cam here, get into it, and you can get a lot of info by just simply placing your cam there. And once again, this works for C as well. So just very simply placing your cam. You can even place it on this corner, turn around, you will get some info. And of course, there's also plenty of ways that you can do it. You can place cam even further, but you don't want to be exposing yourself too much. Started with one-way cages, which you can do when you are playing right here. So firstly, with simple one-way cage on A, you want to go into the corner right here, and then you want to turn around, and there you're gonna see a kingdom written on the wall right here. And all you want to do is just simply place your crosshair anywhere in this area, between the N and G, just like that, and throw there your cage. And the cage is gonna land right here on this rafter, and when the enemies are gonna push, you can simply activate it, and you have this cool one-way cage. You can see them super easily, and you have to be playing heaven, and it would be very difficult for them to see you. Simply aim anywhere at this N and G in the middle. It doesn't have to be very pixel perfect, it would usually land right there. Second one-way which you can do is right here on B. One of the best one-ways which you can do, which is very simple, at the beginning of the round, hug this wall, pretty much stand anywhere, it doesn't have to be very specific, and place your crosshair in the middle of this line, which is sticking out of this brown line, just like that. Throw there your cage. You can be aiming higher or even lower, depending on where you want your cage to land. I would recommend it to land it somewhere in this area. And then you can simply activate it. You can be playing backside or anywhere right here and be waiting for enemies to come, and you have a great one-way to use when the enemies are entering. Now let's move on to your tripwires. There's plenty of tripwires which you can use. One of the best ones I would use simply tripwire like this right there at the beginning of the round, so the enemies would have a hard time going through it. You can do it even lower, for example with this flower plant like this, Once again, a tough one to spot, or you can just simply do it further in the back like that. So those are very simple ones which you can use for this area. You can also do one like this, just like that, and with this one you might want to be playing anywhere in this area, and you can simply wallbang through this wall, so that way when the enemies are coming you can kill them, or you can even use tripwire like this, since from the new patch the tripwire reaches all the way there. And once again, you can be standing in this area and playing for wallbangs. You can combine it with cages on either side and try to kill the guy who's gonna be pushing you. Of course, you can be doing your tripwires right here as well. For example, simple ones like these are gonna work fine in most cases, just like that, and still should give you enough info if there's anyone trying to lurk up into heaven. Right here on mid and in tower, you can be trying to use this tripwire. This tripwire is great since the enemies cannot break it before they, even when the round starts, they will not see it being placed in these corners. It reaches very far, and it is gonna be very difficult for enemies to break if you place it close to this box enough. Usually they would run into the tripwire first before they would even spot this. And this works pretty much the same way as your sage fall. You can place, for example, one cage right here, and if you know that they are close, you might want to activate it. They might run through the tripwire and get yourself a free kill. Or even further in tower, there's plenty of ways that you can do your tripwires, for example, like this, or even on the other side, just like that, very simply. So that way you can secure it. But in all of these cases, I would recommend you placing it higher, so that way enemies cannot jump over it or even crouch under it. Right here on B, which I think is the best for Cypher to hold, there is plenty of tripwires which you can use. For example, you can use this bin right here. You can use it either to go like this all the way here in the back, or you can curve it a little bit so that way the enemies have a harder time spotting it. You can place one like this. This one is very good to use since you can be playing backside right here, and if the enemies run into the side, which they would usually do, trying to swing off this tower, so if they are gonna run like this, they will run into this tripwire. It would be difficult for them to break, and you can get a spam kill through this wall. Of course, you can do your tripwires even further, for example something like this, or even all the way here in the back, just like that, as you can see. And these tripwires are gonna work fantastically. Of course, you can use this this bottle as well, as you can see, and you can make this tripwire make it go very far away, or you can place it on other side, just like that. So there's plenty of options on B which you can use. You can switch it up and play with it a bit, so that way the enemies would have hard time spotting it. And as you can see, if you would be going through it, there's only a few spots where the tripwires can be broken, and in most cases it's gonna be difficult for enemies to even turn it before, since they won't have that, it would be hard for them to turn there. Now let me show you simple cams which you can use when you are playing right here on A. This cam I think is the best one. You can simply place it like this. You don't have to even jump, but if you jump and place it higher, it's even more beneficial for you. As you can see, you are watching all the way here into A main. It's very tough to see, and you can be watching even later on if you are maybe want to be playing in deep side and the enemies might be coming from tower. You might be holding lurk from this area as well, so you are covering a lot of area. With this cam you can spot anyone, activate your cages, and hold A side pretty much by yourself. Another cam that you might be trying to use would be in this spot, just like that. Once again, you are holding the cross, the cam is very high up, you can see a little bit of tower. If you place it lower, it's gonna see more tower, but I think the higher the better, since it is harder to spot. Once again, you can activate your cage right here, and you can be watching and waiting for enemies to come. And you can see even a little bit of spawn through the screens right here. And lastly, you can be using this cam if you want to be playing aggressive at the beginning of the round. Just place it on the corner right here. And you can see in into the stairs area right here in A main. You can get yourself some info. This cam usually gets broken, but sometimes you can get lucky enough and the enemies won't spot it, and once again you are getting a lot of coverage of the whole site and getting a lot of info if the enemies are coming. And lastly, with your cams on B, there's plenty of spots which I love to use. The most common one, which is I think the most beneficial one, is simply placing your cam on this corner right here. Simply stand here and place it. And as you can see, it sees very far in the very deep. You can see tower, and you can activate your cages if you place them right there. And you can be playing anywhere in the backside, in tower, or behind this spot. So this is the first cam. There's plenty of more ones. For example, you can be doing simple one like this. This one is much more passive. You can be watching heaven a little bit, but you cannot see deep into the tunnel, and it would be difficult for you to activate your cage. Another one would be, for example, this one. You can stand on the corner right here, jump and place it. You don't see very deep. You can see still tower. You can activate your cages and you are watching these areas. Or you can do the simpler ones. Even if you forget your cam to place it anywhere, you can just simply go in these spots and you can either place it right here, just like that. Once again, you are watching, you cannot see into the main, but for that one, the cam right here works the greatest. And you are still watching a lot of spots. You can still see tower, activate your cages as well, or you can place it on the side. For example, anywhere right here. If you jump on top of this, you can place your cam, for example, like that, and you can see a little bit of B garage still and all of this coverage. So those are the best cams which I would recommend you to use. And lastly, let me show you what trips to use when you are holding flank. Usually you would do your tripwire like this, but some of the enemies might know that you can jump on top of this like that and avoid the trip. So that way I would recommend you wait a bit at the beginning of the round. Just simply place your cursor right there, or just simply place it further back. But still, if you place it, for example, right here, the enemies are most likely gonna jump it, just like that. So in that way, I would just simply either try to trip anywhere in this area, or just if you are going on A, just simply use your tripwire to hold your back, for example, right here, so that the enemies cannot come. Just very simply, this one should cover pretty much everything, but in most cases, the enemies won't know that they cannot jump this box. So if you do your trip like this at the beginning of the round, it should usually work. However, if the enemies are flanking from the back, they can jump it like that. So have that in mind, that both of these possibilities will avoid your tripwire. And lastly, when you are attacking, don't forget to use your cam to gain some intel and information, for example, like this on mid. You can do this pretty much anywhere on A or even on B. On B, I firstly like to peek it, and then you can place your cam, for example, right there. You can check the right, check the heaven, and gain a lot of information with this cam, simply placing it on this corner right there. And it will start right here when you are defending on A side. Firstly, with the tripwires, they are the simplest ones, and one of the first ones that is I would really recommend is doing this one, since it goes really deep and it ends on this side. It would be very difficult for enemies to break. You can also place your trips on this wall a bit further back, or you can do it right here. You can do it even pretty low, so that way it would be quite difficult for spot for the enemies who would be crossing into the site. The next one, the next setup that it might help you is you combine this with these one-way cages. There are two ways how to do them. Firstly, you want to be in the corner right here and place your crosshair on this spot. As you can see, you want to place it on the bottom left corner of where it meets the wall. Place there your crosshair and throw it. Let's grab bounce up a few times and land right there. The other way how to do this is this one. You just want to simply look at this spot and go down until you hit this ledge. So simply aim at this middle line at the bottom of it, go down and throw it, and it's gonna land right there. That way, when you have a phantom or even charge or anything, you can use these cages. As you can see, you can be in this corner and you can be waiting for enemies to come and they would have this annoying lineup, I mean the one way to work with. You can be on top of the side where it works much better, since the enemies once again have no chance of spotting you that high up. You can be also placing tripwires right here on dish, but usually you are not really working with it, so I wouldn't say it is really that worth it. You can have it there for an info though. The last one that you can do is one right here, so that way enemies don't cross into these spots. You can have it further back, so that way that you know that the enemies are more committed to it and they have not just peeked the doors, so that they can break this strip from you. And with a one-way cage, which you can use right here at these doors, you just want to go right here, hug this wall, hug this corner, and you can see that there's this line. You want to crouch and aim at the top of the line where it meets the top of the building, just right there. You throw it and it's gonna land on these doors, so that way if anyone goes through, you just simply activate it and you can get a kill on anyone in there. Once again, tough spot to work with. You can be either down here or all the way here at ropes. When defending and using your cams, there's plenty of ways. For example, using cam like these should work fantastically. You can see the drop, anyone coming out. However, you don't see deep into the main. So that way you can be using cams, for example, on top of the side right here. Just simply right here. Just like that. So that way you can see at least a little bit into the A main, and they will see the cam pretty late as well, so that way you can see them first. They cannot see the cam unless they are this close already, so have that in mind. One of these cams can work pretty well. Other way how you can do these cams be, for example, right here on this corner. You can see anyone in all of these spots on the side, or you can do a cam right here. So that way it works. You just place it right there. You can see anyone on drop and deep into A main. On B side you can use tripwires like these, so that way you block off anyone coming into the side. You can do a deeper ones right here as well. You can place them on stairs like this, so that way when the enemies are coming in and walking in, this tripwire is gonna get them. So have that in mind and try to use these. Also, you should not forget about the arcade within your trips, for example like these, so that way you have the info if there's anyone crossing in, or you can use one right here immediately in this doorway, so that way the enemies cannot be pushing and at least they will get spotted. So doing this one probably works the best, since the enemies would be going in and they can only break it on one side and not on the other, and if you are holding it, it will be difficult for them to break it and then swing it, since if they break it they are looking to the right and you swing it, you should get a free kill. They should not have much time to react to it. With cages, I just simply recommend to use these ones, so that way you can spray through it after you know that the enemies are coming in, so that the way it covers your trips. You can have one in tower or anywhere deeper as well, so that way you can hold that area safely and guard it. But most importantly, just keeping your trips, keeping your cages either right here or further back should be great, since you can spam anyone through these cages, and if they want to decide to go through, you will get the audio cue and you can try to react based on that. For the camps, you can use, for example, these. You can use them on these corners, so that way you can see arcade and a little bit of A main. You can place it further, for example, right here as well, but just don't get it into the leaf, so have that in mind. And you can be watching all of these spots, or you can be placing it right here very safely on this corner. The beginner transfer so can spot arcade and be watching this entrance as well. All of these camps works fantastically and you should give them a shot. There's also other combinations which can work for you, but for me these works great, since you can activate the cages right here, or if you had cage right here, for example, or get info of enemies who would be usually a bit more committed if they decide to push. And simply for the flying or tripwires on flank, you can either place them on the walls right here, so that way enemies cannot jump and crouch under it. To do it on this side it's a bit more difficult, but if you do it far enough, for example right here, then it should work once again have in mind, so these doors are not placed perfectly, so at some spots the enemies can crouch under it or jump over it, but if you place it high enough, that should work fantastically. On the other side, if you are going from the other side, just simply place your traps either like this, so that way it is difficult for enemies to break, or on the other side right here, for example, at these spots. But you don't want to give them too much space, so have that in mind, since they can go all the way here behind the tripwire if you place it, for example, like this. So that way they can go all the way here and be waiting for you. So have that in mind. And once again, if you place your traps, make sure you place them on one side, so that way, for example, if you place this trip and the tripwire on the other side right here, the enemies can always go jump on the rope, and the tripwire won't go off, and they will be still behind you. So you have to place them on the same side always. So have that in mind. And we'll start right here on B, which is updated. So firstly, you can do trips on the sides of this at the bottom right here, which will go all the way there, or further back like this. There are also options that you can place it right here, so that way it is quite difficult to break and spot. And also you can use this to place your trips. So there's 4 ways how you can do it to stop the enemies from pushing. You can always do simple trips like this that work fantastically. Further back, you can do tripwires right here on these corners, so that way it goes all the way back in there. And you can do also one right here on the side. And also you can even try doing a trip like this on the side, since usually enemies, if they will go around it, they will try to go to the back, and they would never see this tripwire coming. So if you are playing in a safe spot, it would be smoked off here. You can try to spam them through it by simply using this tripwire. You can also use this one-man cage, which is pretty simple. You just want to stand right here at the corner, and you want to be placing your crosshair right in the middle of this window, which is sticking out right here, just simply a little bit above it. Go up until you hit the ceiling and throw it. As you can see, it's gonna bounce up on the window, and you can activate this one and be playing right here in the corner, or even in tower, in the heaven. And if you activate it, it's gonna look like this, and you will spot anyone who's gonna be right here in B main, and the enemies would never see you shooting at them from this corner. Also, using very simply cages like these should work fine, since as you can see, it's gonna provide you with enough coverage. You can be playing sneakily in the corner right here, having trips on plenty of different spots, and playing with these. So simply doing your cage like this, activating it, and playing around it. Super easy, and it covers this whole area perfectly. And lastly, the cams that you can use here on long. There are a few that I really like. One of them is this one, which you do at the beginning of the round. You run forward and place your cam immediately right here, then you go back and you can simply be in the cam, and as you can most importantly, you can hear enemies even from rotating very far. And when you are in this cam, you can be hiding right here and you will see anyone. They will never check this cam, since how often do you actually go onto the long and clear anything behind you, like right there? So they would never see it coming if they are more to the left. Once again, super easy. The same thing works for this other side. You can do it right here. You just wanna place your cam as much to the ground as possible, so that way when the enemies are gonna come here and they are gonna clear it, they have no chance of spotting the cam, since it's pretty low. And once again, you can see quite a lot on this from this spot. Next spot, which I like the most, is placing the cam right here on the side of this church. So you just want to come here, jump up, and place it onto the side right there. And as you can see all the way to the long, and most importantly, you can also spot the mid. So you are covering both of these spots and gaining a whole lot of info for your team. Of course, there is more cam spots. For example, you can do your cams behind yourself into various spots, for example like this. As you can see, once again, you can see a little bit of the B-link. This cam would be very difficult to spot and hard to destroy as well, since the enemies will not see it immediately. You can also place one tripwire right here, so that way it would be difficult for enemies to go here without doing anything. So keeping one of your trips right here is not a bad idea either, and you can do a very similar thing right here in the art as well, depending on where you want to place it. I would recommend to place it anywhere in this area. That's the spot where enemies cannot jump over it and cannot crouch under it, so have that in mind to place it correctly. Moving on to B, there's once again plenty of spots where you can place your tripwires. You can use these stairs and this wall. One of the common ones is placing it right here and playing in the bed, so that way you can spam through the wall. You can do one in the back right here, which I really like, since once again enemies will try to usually extend and cover themselves, so you can be standing here and waiting for them, and then simply spray through the wall, getting a free kill on anyone who's gonna be spotted by this trip. There's other spots which should work fantastically. For example, you can use this side of this thing as well. Right there, as you can see, once again, very difficult to spot. And you can be using even this corner right here as well. As you can see, if you place it higher, it's gonna go deeper, just like that. But as you can see, there's plenty of variations which you can try to use to guard the A side safely. With cages, there's not really one way cage that I would really recommend that's worth doing. You can always place one of your cages right here, and one which I like to place is either here or on the other side, depending on where I play. So that way, when I know that the enemies are coming, usually I get the info of my camp, I activate the cage and I try to spam through it. You can spam through the walls, and you can do it on the other side as well, like this, so that way anyone who will go into these tripwires is gonna get spotted and you have a free kill on them. One of the best spots where you can do camps from is this box. You simply go here and jump there. You have to practice it a bit, since it's not that easy to do on a first try, and then it gives you a lot of options where you can place your camps. For example, which I like, is place it on the side of the wall right here, which would be difficult for enemies to check. You can place it on the other side as well. You can either place it onto the right or on this wall. But if you do it on this one, just like this, you will be able to see a little bit into the main mar. However, with placing it right here, you cannot see right through this building, so it can be an issue for you. But however, you can still place the cam anywhere in this area, not on this umbrella though, just on the wall behind it, just like that. As you can see, once again, you gain a lot of info. The cam is fairly hidden, so the enemies would have a hard time breaking it. When you are attacking, I would recommend doing these two trips. Very simple, one right here, so that way enemies can't cross there, and the other one simple in this hallway. You can either place it right here or further in the back right here, but depending where you are going actually. I think this one is much more useful, since if you use this one and this one for the flank, the enemies will never be able to flank you whether you are on A or on B, but they can get a lot of info from here as well. So have that in mind, that you can block them off with these strips. For example, when you are pushing on A, you can try using your cam at the beginning of the round to gain an info if there's anyone standing here. Later on, you can always place your cam anywhere in this area and use it pretty much as a recon dart. You just simply equip it as fast as possible, so that way you can gain a little bit of info. Doesn't matter whether you see them, most important, if you spot them on a minimap, that should do the trick. And then of course, when you are pushing, you can simply throw your cages to the left or block off either of these sides, so it would be easier for you to gain space into the side. So have that in mind when using these, and definitely don't be afraid to use your cam more when you are Cypher, especially on attack. The same thing works on the B side as well. Once again, place your cam, gain the info if there's operator or something, and then when you are pushing further, you can always place your cam on this side of the walls, gain info there, and just simply use them. You can be even closer right here. When there are smokes, you can try to place your cam in the back. It might get broken, you can simply clear it by checking that. If there are smokes, have that in mind so that they don't disappear just in front of you suddenly, and use it. You can always be using the cages later on. You can either use them to cross here and gain more space for your team, just like that, so that way it is easier for you to attack. And then later in the round you can either place one right here when you are pushing, so once again you gain a lot of out of space, and then throw in one right here in the back, so that way anyone in this elbow is gonna be blocked off. Here on bind, and we will start right here when you are defending with these simple tricks. Firstly, this one is the simplest and I think the best one. There's plenty of other ways how you can combine it and other ways how you can do this. So for example, like these, if you want to block off this side, you can always do also this one. And there are other options like these as well. So some of these tripwires to hold these showers are gonna be the best, or you can do just an early one at the beginning of the round right here in the showers. Right here on short, there's plenty of ways that you can do that as well. You can always place one like this, you can do it even further. You can do the same thing from here on short. You can also use these little things on these doors. As you can see, you can even do it, for example, in the back. You can do one in the corner right here, and you can always strip, for example, like this from the truck to this wall as well, even further. So there's once again plenty of options for you that you can do. You can even use this vase that I should mention, or even this barrel, as you can see. So it can be very difficult for enemies, and you can always switch things up with other tripwires. Also, there's this little one. You can, for example, use these stairs. It really depends on you where you want to do it, and you can even do it closer, for example, like that. Moving on to B, I will show you firstly my two favorite ones. First, like this one, you want to do it like this, and the other one right here. They are pretty difficult to do, but if you do them like this, the enemies will be always caught, since no one would be expecting the tripwire to be right here, since the distance from one side to the other is pretty big, and those tripwires work the best. There's plenty of other options. You can always trip these sides, you can use it on these corners as well. For example, like that. As you can see, you can use them on this side for these walls, on the long area like that, or you can do them even lower, as you can see, for example, on these walls, so that way they're gonna be like this. And once again, there's plenty of options. For hookah, you can always go in as well. If you want to be playing closer, you can use these little things on the floors. As you can see, they would be quite difficult to spot, and you can always do one like these. For example, this way should work fine as well. You can do it from one side to another, and as you can see, it's gonna be behind this ways, so that way it would be difficult to break on this side, since they would not see the end of it, as well as on this side. On further, you can also use these spots just like that, since it would be pretty easy. You can combine, for example, these, and you can then later on wallbang through this wall. If you want to get really cheeky, you can always use, for example, this little balcony on the top, where the enemies, you might be thinking where they might be crossing, and if they jump through it and they get caught, they will be flying back up and down, and they have no chance of killing you. If you are in, for example, 1v1 situation, they should be a free kill for you. So let's move on to one-way agent, and firstly do these. You want to place your crosshair right above this dot, right in the middle of it, between those two walls, like there, and throw it. It's gonna land on this lamp. And for the other one, you want to place your crosshair right here on this spot. And as you can see, those are gonna work fantastically, and when the enemies are gonna push, you can activate them, and as you can see their legs right there under the cage. On chart, there's not that many one-way cages, but you can use your cages in order to give yourself advantage when the enemies run through the trips. So for example, one right here or one right here, and you can be playing behind them and waiting for the enemies to go through the tripwires. Very simply, just like that. On B, it's pretty much the same story. I would recommend doing one right here and one on this side. I like to play in the cube. And one of my cages, when one of the tripwires goes off, I either activate one of them, peek on the left, and you can wall back through these walls. And the same thing works right here on this other side as well. So that way it would be difficult for enemies to see you from where the bullets are coming from. And of course you can do your cages, for example, like this, so that way it is much more difficult for enemies to push. However, I would recommend you doing one right here rather than all the way down, so that way it is covered perfectly. Camps on bind, there's plenty of them. For example, you can do one right here on this thing where it would be very difficult to spot, and you want to just place it like that. And as you can see into the baths through this monk, so there it would be difficult to spot, and you can see the whole cubby there. You can also do your cam if you want to be more aggressive, for example like this. You want to do it right there, and you can see further on short. If you want to do it like that, you can do it on the other side, for example right here as well. Another one might be right here on this thing, for example, from where it would be very difficult for enemies to spot. However, it doesn't provide you much of an info early on in the round, so have that in mind. You can also do your camp, for example right here in this corner, so that way it would be difficult for enemies to spot you. You can see this short. You can do it furthermore to the left. Once again, you can do your camp, for example, on these things as well. You can see a lot of short, however you don't turn that much. Therefore, doing it, for example, on this corner can provide you much more info. On B, there's plenty of camps. For example, you can do this aggressive one, just like that, very simply, where you can see on the long all the way. You can do one in the back behind you, for example like this, and you can see all the way there. Once again, very difficult to spot. You can do it on the other side as well, so that way you see more of a long area. One of my favorite ones on B where I like to play with Cypher is right here. You just want to climb into the window already, get to the corner, and you want to place it as high as you can, like that. And as you can see, it's fairly hidden. You see, you get enough info of the enemies where they are, and they would never expect the camp to be right here. So have that in mind and try to use it in your advantage. And also, I should show you this cam right here, all the way up. You don't get that much info, but once again, very difficult to break. Enemies would never see it. And the same thing works for this spot right here. Once again, fairly hidden. You get enough info. You can see all the way in this spot where you will see enemies if they are very close, and you can see to the left enough. So if you combine it with, once again, those cages, these tripwires, you can be playing here waiting for enemies. You simply activate it, go for the wall bank. You can get yourself info where the enemies are pushing you from, and simply play in the backside. When attacking, don't forget to use your trips like this, so that way the enemies cannot jump over it, for example from these spots or from these. So do it right in the middle, right here, and make sure they cannot crouch under it and jump over it from any of these boxes. So this is a great spot to do it. Another one would be right here, just like that. Once again, the enemies cannot get through it, and it would give you a lot of info the enemies are flanking. Also, when attacking, use your cam, so that way you can gain info. For example, on spots like these, you can use it pretty much as the Sova drone for you to gain info. When you're pushing, you can always throw your cages in these spots where you don't want enemies to peek you, and you can once again use it even to plant. So for example, doing something like this should work for you, and once again you cover a lot of area with these cages. When pushing B, you can do this at the beginning of the round. Immediately place your cam here and check if anyone's peeking. You can then just simply take it back, or you can even use it further to gain info if there's anyone holding you in garage. If you don't want the cam to be destroyed from the side, you can place it more to this spot. That way you would know if it gets broken that there's someone standing on this side and not on the other. And of course the same thing works for long as well as for the showers. So doing this works absolutely fantastic and gets you enough info for you. You can use your cage right here, so that way you can group up, you can take ARP, you can use your cam even when you're pushing further on. And once again, use your Cypher as it was the cam as it was a drone, or you can just simply hold flanks with it, and if it doesn't get broken, it can be helpful later on in the round as well. So yeah, that's simply about Cypher on Bind. Hopefully this video is gonna be helpful for you guys. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and see you guys soon. Bye.